Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om. 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 Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Puranamunina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashaധ്യായിनीं Amba Tvamanusandathami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshini Namostute Vyalabuddhe Pullaravindayatapatra Yena Tvaya Bharata Tailapurna Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipa Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraikapanaye Jnana Mudraya Krishnaya Gitamrita Duhe Namaha Sarvopanishado Gavo Dogdha Gopalanandanaha Partho Vatsasudhir Bhokta Dugdham Gitamritam Mahate Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Bhishmadrona Tata Jayadratajala Gandhara Nilotpala Shalyagrahavati Krapena Vahani Karnena Velakula Ashvathama Vikarna Ghora Makara Duryodhana Vartini Sotirna Kalupandavairana Nadi Kaivartaka Keshava Parasharya Vachasaroja Mamalam Gita Gandhotkatam Nana Kyanaka Kesaram Harikatha Sambodhana Bodhitam Loke Sajjana Shatpadairaharaha Pipiyamanam Muda Bhuyat Bharata Pankajam Kalimala Pradvamsina Shreyasi Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pankum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Maruta Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedais Sangha Padakramopanishadair Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavasthita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino Yasyantam Navidussura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Welcome back to the study of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter. We were studying the 28th verse of the 6th chapter, wherein Sri Krishna is talking about the process of inner absorption of a yogi. What happens when a person is absorbed in communion with the divine? As human beings and as people who are used to utilitarian values, wherein we always want to know what is the outcome for the output that I give. Therefore, Sri Krishna is aware of this mentality of ours, and therefore he says, look here, if you practice these are the benefits that you will receive. So that will help us in making up our mind whether I want to go for it or not. So here he talks about this process of inner absorption. This feeling that I have within me this great joy, that this joy is beyond all doubt. So he says, Yunjannevam sadatmanam yogi vigata kalmashaha sukhena brahma samsparsham atyantam sukham ashnute. In the previous verse, Sri Krishna indicated the external manifestation of the joy of a person who has achieved this highest. So he said there, Prashanta Manasam, such a person's mind is so serene. Prashanta means serene. There are no waves, there are no disturbances. Prashanta Manasam. Yoginam, that means you can see from outside that the person is totally at ease. Sukham, the joy, the happiness oozes out of that person. Upaiti Shanta Rajasam. That such person's passions are all completely subsided. Nothing can disturb that person, nothing can instigate that person. So, Upaiti Shanta Rajasam. Does that mean that person is like a stone or some inert object? No, it is not that. But such a person has understood that indeed life is not worth to be fought over. That there is much greater things in life than just mere fighting over pennies or fighting over little things. Therefore, Shanta Rajasam, all his passions are completely subsided. Does not bother, does not care at all. That's what he said here, Udasa. That means he is not at all bothered. He is not concerned about it at all. So in this verse, he is talking about the inner transformation or the inner joy that he feels. Yunjan evam, if you connect yourself thus, that means in the manner that has been mentioned in this chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the 6th chapter, the Dhyana Yoga, Yunjan, if you have been able to engage yourself, or a person who has already achieved to it, if he engages himself in this manner, then Sada means always, constant. There is no hindrance here. There is no stopping of this flow. Even if you do not want, yet the joy will flow through you. That is the idea. Of course, who does not want joy? So here he says, Sada Atmanam. Atmanam here, he translates as the mind. Atmanam, the mind is Yunjan, it has been connected, it has been in constant communion, steadfast in communion, spiritual communion. And then Kalmashaha Vigataha. Kalmashaha means all the dirt and dust, all the sins have been washed off. There will be no remnant of any dirt and dust, any impurity in such a person. That is called as Vigata Kalmashaha. Then Sukhena Brahma Samsparsham. Sukhena, that means with ease. For us all, meditation is a great effort. Trying to meditate or keep our mind calm or keep our mind focused is great effort, requires great effort. But for such person, natural flow of his mind will be towards the divine. If you see the life of great saints, Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda and others, their mind is constantly going towards the divine only. When Sri Ramakrishna used to go into samadhi, when his pulse would stop, his breathing would stop, but yet he is alive. And then, in order for him to come down to the normal plane of consciousness, sometimes his disciples would utter the name of the Lord in his ear. Or sometimes he himself, when he tries to bring his mind down, he will say, I will have a glass of water. I will eat something. He does not, when it is given, he does not accept it, but he is forcibly making his mind come down to the normal plane. For us, it is the opposite. We are forcibly trying to take our mind to a higher level, whereas his level is so high that it's very difficult for him to come down. Therefore, he tries to bring in some desires. Just put in some desires so that he can enjoy the world. Swami Vivekananda's mind was also like that. As soon as he would sit, he would go into samadhi. One of the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Turiyananda, I think, he talks about this. One day at Kashipur, where they were serving Sri Ramakrishna when he was sick with cancer, he found that Swami Vivekananda was sitting and his whole body was covered with a blanket. Blanket of what? Mosquitoes. Blanket full of mosquitoes. The whole body was covered with mosquitoes. Means his mind has been so engrossed in it, he doesn't feel the bite of the mosquitoes also. We hear in the Puranas and all that yogis would sit and meditate and birds would build their nests on their matted logs. How does that happen? This total absorption happens. In fact, Swami Vivekananda requested Sri Ramakrishna, I want to reach such a stage, I want to be in such a state that I should be totally immersed in meditation, and sometimes just to maintain the body and to eat, my mind should come down. And Sri Ramakrishna said, well, if you are not yet ready, this is not yet time for you. That's another story. So he says here that Sukhena Yunjannevam Sada Atmanam, such a person experiences intense bliss of contact with Brahman. Does such a person meditate or sit for meditation and get this? Of course, yes. But on the other hand, after one has reached to such a state, there is no need for meditation at all. At all times he is in meditation. Sri Ramakrishna, I mentioned it last week. Sri Ramakrishna one day was sitting for meditation, and then suddenly a thought came into his mind. Is meditation possible only while one is sitting with closed eyes? Is it not possible to meditate with open eyes? And he continues, when this thought came, I opened my eyes and I found the same Brahman spread everywhere. So this is it. We will come to this topic a little later. Prashanta manasam yunjannevam sadatmanam yogi vigata kalmashaha sukhena brahma samsparsham atyantam sukham ashnute. There's a beautiful book called The Interior Castle by Saint Teresa of Avila. And there she mentions of a castle with 7 mansions. See, in a castle, there are several mansions, and he says there are 7 mansions. And she says, I began to think of the soul, one's own being, as if it were a castle made from a single diamond, carved from a single diamond. And this is a castle of 7 mansions. And then she says, my Lord dwells in the 7th mansion. It dwells in the 7th mansion. We have in Hinduism the concept of Chaturdasha Bhuvana Loka, that is 14 lokas or 14 spheres, 7 above and 7 below, Sapta Loka and Sapta Adholoka. So here she talks about this mansion wherein the Lord is always seated, and she says the joy that I find by beholding my Lord is such that it cannot be expressed in words. It happens because there is no more dirt in the heart of that person. Vigata kalmashaha. And she calls it, I have been tempered with fire. Tempered with fire. You take a needle, temper it with fire, and then use it. Generally, in olden days before sterilization came, they used to temper, or they used to warm up the needles with fire so that all dirt or all bacteria is destroyed, and then they will use it for making incisions and all that. Vigata kalmashaha. And then he says, sukhena, with ease, brahma samsparsham, means one is in touch with Brahman. Brahma samsparsha, sparsha means to touch. Brahma samsparsham is in touch with Brahman. Like a philosopher's stone which turns everything into gold, all metals into gold. Such a person is in touch with the divine. That's what I said in the beginning from Teresa. It is as it were a castle made out of a single diamond. The whole thing is so very precious. So it says, Atyantam Sukham Ashnute, ultimate happiness or ultimate joy is derived by this practice. Every pore of the body becomes a source of great joy and happiness. When we perform the puja, for example, especially in the type of puja that we here perform, we are required to practice some mudras or to perform certain mudras. What we do through that mudra is to establish the divine in every part of our body, beginning from the crown up to the toes. We establish a divine form in every part of our body. In the Brahmananda Valli of the Taittiriya Upanishad, we come across the different types of anandas or different types of joys that can be experienced. There it says, it defines one unit of happiness, of ananda, as the joy of a young person who is very energetic, who is very strong, who is healthy both physically and mentally, and is enjoying life to its fullest extent. That is one unit of joy. This is called as Manusha Anandaha, the joy of a person, one person, maximum possible joy that one can experience. Then it names the different intermediary species of beings, and it says, "Ete manushya gandharvanam ananda." 10 times the joy that a very healthy young person experiences, 10 times the joy is known as Manushya Gandharva Ananda. Manushya Gandharva. It is a combination of both human and Gandharva. Gandharva are celestial musicians or celestial artists. Even great artists whom we see, when they get absorbed in their art, be it dance or painting or singing, the joy that they experience is far, far superior to the joy that they experience through the 5 senses. So this is 10 times larger than that. Then the Upanishad says, 10 times than the Manushya Gandharva joy is the Deva Gandharva. Deva Gandharva. One example of Deva Gandharva in Hindu Puranas is the sage Narada. Deva Gandharva. He is the divine musician. So the joy that he experiences is 10 times more than the Manushya Gandharva. 10 times that of a Deva Gandharva is the joy that the Pitras, that means the ancestors who are in communion with the divine, that they experience, Pitras. And 10 times their experience is Ajanaja. Ete Ajanajanam Anandaha. Ajanaja means born in the world of gods. These are all different types of experiences. Then 10 times that of Ajanaja are the Karma Devas. Those who perform yagna, yagas and all that with the sole intention of achieving heaven or attaining to heaven, go to this kind of heaven where they experience this kind of joy. It is called as Karma Deva. Karma Deva. Karma means actions, especially the good deeds like charity, giving in charity and all that with an ulterior motive. The ulterior motive is that I will go to heaven and enjoy. So this is the kind of heavenly joy that they experience. And then 10 times that of the Karma Deva's joy is the Devas, the gods, the experience. 10 times that of the Devas is Indrasya Ananda, Indra, the Lord of all gods. 10 times that of Indra's Ananda is Brihaspati. Who is Brihaspati? Brihaspati is supposed to be the Lord of sacred word, of sacred speech. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word became God. So that is what it is. This Brihaspati belongs to that category. 10 times of the Brihaspati is Brahma, the creator Brahma, the Trinity, one of the Trinity. But the Upanishad says, even 10 times the joy of Brihaspati, the creator, is the joy that a person achieving this state of mind experiences, Brahmananda. So it is the joy that we experience, or a person, a yogi experiences, when one completely dedicates himself or herself to this path is 100 times more than the joy that you experience through your five senses. It may be to eulogize, to praise this joy that this has been said, but Sri Ramakrishna himself used to say that after experience the joy of being one with Brahman, all other joys seem so tasteless, insipid. These are the words Sri Ramakrishna says. Insipid, of no taste at all, completely bland. So this is the kind of joy that we are experiencing, bland joy that we are experiencing with the five senses, but increase it to 100 times, and that is the joy that a yogi feels within himself, experiences within oneself. So having given us this information of the joy of a yogi, Sri Krishna is now talking about how a person behaves externally. How a person behaves externally. 29th verse. Sarva bhutastamatmanam sarva bhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshanaha. Sarva bhutastam atmanam sarva bhutani cha atmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshanaha. Sarva bhutastam, residing in all beings. Sarva bhutani, in all beings. Ikcha atmani, one would see this in one's own being, in one's own self. Ikshate, ikshate means perceives, sees. Yoga yuktatma, a person who has established in union with the divine. Sarvatra samadarshanaha, sees everywhere the self-same being manifest. The man of spiritual insight, established in same-sightedness, sees the self as residing in all beings and all beings as resting in the self. Sri Ramakrishna, in order to explain this, I will mention from Sri Ramakrishna's own words. Sri Ramakrishna once described his state. He says, I can see different beings, different people, both humans as well as animals, etc. These different beings are like different covers of a pillow. Pillow covers. Sometimes you have a white pillow cover, sometimes you have some floral design, and so on and so forth. In a house you will have different pillow covers, but the pillow is the same. The material inside the pillow is the same. So it says, different beings are like different covers of the pillow. Inside is the same. The colors and patterns of pillow covers only differ. So he sees outside, everything is filled with the divine. Everything is filled with the essence of the divine. And he sees within himself also the same self, the same divine. And Sri Krishna, he says here, he sees different beings within also. That means he sees within oneself all the different beings. If we refer to the episode in Sri Krishna's life, Sri Krishna went out to play, was a child, toddler, and he went out to play, and he took some dirt and then put it in his mouth. Mother Yashoda was seeing him, watching him, and then she came and then scolded him and said, you are eating the dirt? Show me your mouth. So he was nonchalant, he would not open his mouth. Then the mother threatened him and said, no, I want to see what you have in your mouth. Open your mouth. So as he opened his little mouth, Yashoda sees in him the whole universe manifested over there. All the beings, all the planets, the sun, the moon, all the planets, everything is in his mouth. Mukha vivara, within the mouth. Everything is there, manifest. And Mother Yashoda was surprised. Said, I was thinking this is my little baby, Sri Krishna. And here I see the whole universe in him. Sarva bhutastam atmanam, sarva bhutani cha atmani. All the beings are in Atman, in him over here. Sarva bhutani cha atmani. That is, you feel your presence in all beings. See, there is this, in ethics we have this saying that do towards and feel towards others as you do or feel about your own self. That is the highest principle of ethics is, what you do not want to be done to yourself, do not do it to others. That's what it is. And do towards others what you would do to your own self. So this is a wonderful piece of ethics. Why should I do good to others? This question is asked. We sometimes question ourselves. Is it not enough for me to be selfish, to be self-content? Why should I try to help the others? Because in the outside, in the other, there is your own self. In the other, you yourself are present over there. That should be the basics of ethics. The difference between communism and Vedanta is in this. Communism asks you to do good to others because it is good for the whole community. Whereas, that means there it sees yourself as different, the others as different. If you can do good to others, you also can do evil to others if you follow that communist theory. Whereas in Vedanta, you do good to others because they are not different from your own self. You would not want to harm your own body, any part of your body. In the same way, they are all different parts of the body of the divine. So that's why he says here, Sarva Bhutastam Atmanam. See? Psychologically, this shows that spiritual intuition, spiritual realization or intuition, which yoga gives to us, has a distant content or unique nature and not a mere fantasy or a mere imagination that everybody is you. It doesn't. agree with yoga. Yoga says you indeed are everything. You are here and you are there. This, it calls us that being and becoming. You are being, you are a being and you become everything. And when we do this, the self-centeredness, pettiness around my own little being, it just breaks away, just goes away. And God-centeredness becomes the norm for such a person. Swami Sridharanandaji, when he used to comment on this, he used to talk about Sri Chaitanya's life of Sri Chaitanya. And he narrates his life of Sri Chaitanya, where Sri Chaitanya, when he started his preaching and all that, singing, etc., everybody became attracted. Even the so-called ruffians, the so-called outcasts, and the worst in the society, they all started coming to Sri Chaitanya. Now, he had a few core followers who were in constant company of him and who used to manage the so-called organization. And they had a meeting amongst themselves, and then they said, look here, for some time everything was going well. People who are really desirous of spiritual attainments, etc., they were coming. Those who were really serious about spiritual life, they used to come. But now what do we see? All sorts of people, the fallen women, and then the drunkards, and everybody has started coming. Now, if such people infiltrate into our association, what will happen to it? The association will get a bad name, isn't it? And somebody comes and sees that there are useless people sitting here, they will say, oh, maybe this is the type of people that come here, so they would not come again. So they somehow, one of them said, all right, I will raise this with Sri Chaitanya. Sri Chaitanya would always be in a God-intoxicated state. So they went to him and they told him, sir, with folded hand, they said, sir, we have something to say to you. Yes, my dears, say what do you want to say. We know that you are always in a God-intoxicated state and you may not know the type of people who come here. All sorts of people have started coming here. As a result, in the village, the word has gone that Sri Chaitanya does not have any sense of discrimination, and that he is allowing everyone and anyone to come and become his disciples. They are all coming in hordes. We need to put a stop to this. We will have somebody in the gate and would not allow all these type of people to come. Only we will have a few genuine people to come here. Chaitanya listened to them with great sympathy and attention, and then said to them with tears in his eyes, my dears, look here. I am in such a state that wherever I see, whoever I see, I only see my Lord Sri Krishna. Yatra yatra manu yati, tatra padam, param padam, ashnute. I see only the divine manifest everywhere. As such, I cannot make any distinction between the good and the bad. It is not up to me to make such decision at all. Anyone who comes here with the name of the Lord, who takes the name of the Lord, will become purified. So that is what it is. Yatra yatra manuyati. Wherever my eyes fall, I only see the divine. This is the state of a person of the divine vision. Ikshate yoga yuktatma. Whatever he sees, yoga yuktatma, sarvatra samadarshana. Samadarshi, he sees only the good everywhere. Narsi Mehta also in that famous song, Vaishnava Janato Teni Kahiye, which Gandhiji was very fond of. There also he talks about Samadrishtine Trishna Tyagi Parastri Jene Matare Jihvathaki Asatyana Poli. So it says Samadrishtine Trishna Tyagi. Once one has this same sightedness, sees the same everywhere. Trishna, all the desires, tanha, all the thirst will disappear. Parastri Jene Matare, sees all the women as one's own mother, as forms of one's own mother. And Jihvataki Asatya no Boli. Even by mistake, even by the twist of his tongue, he will not be able to talk anything untoward, that is, not tell a lie. Asatya na bholi. So that is the meaning of this. Sarva bhutastam atmanam ikshate sarvatra samadarshanaha. Now he comes the next. This same thought is expressed in the language of bhakti, of devotion. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvancha mayi pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachame na pranashyati. Yaha, you means yaha, who mam sarvatra pashyati, who sees me. Sri Krishna is talking about his divinity, divine nature, sees me, Sri Krishna, manifest in all being. Sarvancha mayi pashyati, sees all in me. Me in all and all in me. Tasya, for him, aham, myself, I, na pranashyami, I am never lost. That means I am always visible, I am always present. Saha cha na me na pranashyati. To me, that person is also never lost. He who sees me in all beings, that is, he realizes that this Vasudeva Krishna, Sri Krishna, is my own self. I feel that God is within me. There is in the Bhagavata, Ekadasha Skanda, Dashama Skanda, that there it comes the incident of the gopis playing with sporting with Sri Krishna occurs. It began with every gopi thinking that she is sporting with Sri Krishna. They were absorbed in the thought of Sri Krishna so much that they started dancing with him, playing with him. Every one of them, they started playing with him. And then when this experience or this dance reached to a climax, the realization that the gopis had were that they themselves had become Krishna. And that one gopi thought that she is Krishna and the other is a gopi. And so everyone assumed this form of Sri Krishna, as it were. First of all, it started with one gopi sporting with another gopi as Krishna, and slowly and slowly everyone realizing one's own nature as Sri Krishna. So here he says, Yo mam pashyati sarvatra, Siya Ram sab jag jani, Karau pranam jodi jug pani. Siya Ram sab jag jani. That means the Lord Sri Rama is the whole universe. The Lord himself has become the whole universe. Therefore, Karahu Pranam, I bow down, Jodi Jugapan, with my folded hands, I bow down to every being. My respects to everyone. And Kabir Das talks about this. Jo Ram Dasharath ka beta, Vahi Ram ghat ghat leta. The Rama who is the son of Dasharatha, the very Rama is present in ghat ghat, in every being, in every object. Ghat ghat mein leta. Vahi Ram hai jagat pasara, Vahi Ram hai sabse nyara. That Rama who is the nearest of everyone, the closest of all, is also everywhere, present everywhere. So he is here and he is there. That is the idea. We sing on the Ekadashi days here a very beautiful hymn. Shuddha Brahma Paratpara Ram Kalatmaka Parameshwara Ram. See, Shuddha Brahma. What is the nature of Sri Rama? He is Shuddha Brahma. He is the pure Brahman. He is the absolute Brahman, one without a second. But again, Kalatmaka Parameshwara Ram. He is also present as the Kalatmaka. It means one who is subject to changes, Parameshwara, and the Lord of the changing world. So he is absolute, but yet again he takes the form of a human being, as a limited being, behaves like a human being, but at the same time his mind is perched in the absolute. So here he says, Tasyaham na prana, and then he continues, Tasya aham na pranashyami. To him I am never lost. I am always there. I am always there. Sacha me na pranashyati. Or he to me. That means na pranashyati. Sri Krishna again and again in the Bhagavad Gita assures whoever takes to this path, whoever takes refuge in me will never perish, will never be destroyed, will never come into trouble. Trials will be there, difficulties will be there, that cannot be avoided. But if he is with me, nobody can shake me, nobody can put me down. This is the assurance that the Lord gives to us. If we have faith in the assurance of the divine, the first requisite for all of us is having this tremendous faith. Sri Ramakrishna used to talk about this Shraddha, faith, tremendous faith and Vishwas, belief that the Lord is with me at all times. Nothing can shake me. If I have that firm conviction within myself, if I have that unshakable faith that the Lord is in me and I am in the Lord, if we have this, then we will not have to suffer. as it's always said, pain is inevitable, but the suffering is optional. Pain is inevitable, there will be pain. As we deal with duality, as we deal with the materials, because it is subject to change, there will be always some conflicts, there will be always some trials and tribulations. But if our inner being has been tempered, as it were, as I said earlier, Saint Teresa calls it tempered in fire. So if it is tempered with that, then all this dirt and dust of the world will not make a dent in us. It will not really affect us. This is the assurance that Sri Krishna gives to us through the Bhagavad Gita. We will have a break of 2 weeks. Next Sunday, we are having a seminar on mental health. Its caption is Mind Your Mind. It's a mental health workshop. It starts from 9:30 to 1 p.m. Those who want to register, they can register at trybooking.com. And the following week, we will be having the Durga Puja, which will be performing on the 24th here, and on the 25th also we will have some pujas, some worship, etc. So for the next 2 weekends, we will not have any classes here. Om Shantakaram Bhujagashayanam Padmanabham Suresham Vishwadharam Gaganasudrisham Mekavarnam Shubhangam Lakshmikantam Kamalanayanam Yogiridhyanagamyam Vande Vishnum Bhavabhayaharam Sarvalokaikanaatham. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanastu. Swami Tadananda will now talk on mind management techniques from 11 o'clock.